Welcome to CPA Australia's webinar, 3 Ways Better Client Info Management Can Transform Your Firm, sponsored by M-Files. My name is Kristen Beadle and I am a manager at CPA Australia in the Public Practice and SME division. We have a lot of people joining us today from all over the country for today's webinar, so thank you for attending. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners from around Australia and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend this acknowledgement to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be with us today. Thank you, everyone. I'll now hand it over to our presenters, being Chris, to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Hopefully everyone can see and hear me. Thank you everyone for joining our session today. 3 ways better client information management can transform your firm. Throughout today's session, we will explore some of the challenges around the client information management and collaboration and how firms like yours can deliver a best-in-class digital client experience in today's work from anywhere world. As introduced, my name is Chris Smith and I am joined today by my colleague Kevin Leong. Together we manage our channel partner ecosystem across the ANZ market, in addition to our local support and marketing resources. The digital world that we're now firmly a part of has certainly made our lives better in a wide range of different ways. It's now far easier to communicate and engage in both our personal and professional lives than it was less than a decade ago. Of course, this tech-based revolution has also brought with it its fair share of challenges, as I'm sure many organisations can attest to. To stay competitive and meet market demands, organisations, especially professional services-based firms, must offer an exceptional client experience, innovate their product offering, and deepen their expertise. This often translates to doing more with less and the need to reallocate resources to higher value work, like serving customers, investing in more competitive offerings, or building out traditional expertise. However, archaic and outdated ways of managing information are hindering firms' abilities to navigate these disruptions and curb competition. During a period where customers can figure out the answers to the most questions using little more than a search engine, the need for people with specialised knowledge is sadly on the decline. Professional services organisations who have been able to ride out this storm, however, have done so by emphasising the most important factor of all, customer loyalty. Customer loyalty isn't just what separates your business from a competitor's in someone's mind. It's also what separates you from the free and efficient digital counterpart named Google. Maintaining loyalty is all about creating exceptional customer experiences, and in the last few years in particular, customer expectations have changed dramatically. Customers now most likely demand fixed fees or transparency with all pricing. They want services that are faster, simpler, more convenient, and more affordable than ever before. The services you provide are most likely revolving around documents such as financial statements, billable hours, tracking documents, memorandums, articles, prospectuses, board meetings, audit observations, just to name a few. This is your business. Your business is highly document-centric, and the client information or intellectual property you are managing is also highly sensitive. The way you are storing and managing client data in your business will significantly impact the customer experience that you're able to provide. This past 18 months has certainly intensified this need. Client information must be secure, quick and easy to access, whether it's by you or your client, and the clients must be able to trust that their IP cannot get into the wrong hands. So having a true 360-degree view of all information relating to each client is critical to providing good client experience, because in a market that is becoming more competitive than ever, you need to be able to stand out from the crowd and to deliver the digital experience that your clients demand to avoid them looking elsewhere. But before we jump into 3 ways better client information management can transform your firm, I think it's important to set a foundational layer of understanding as to how we approach information management. For us, information management is based on what something is rather than where it is stored. Now, there are several analogies that can be applied here to explain what is meant by this, but perhaps the one that resonates the most these days is something like the modern streaming platforms such as Netflix, where users find the content they want to consume by what it means to them. Is it a drama, a comedy, or are they searching based on a certain actor or cast member, or perhaps combinations of these details? One thing they're not doing is navigating through a series of folders to find this content. To highlight this, let's perhaps try and think about how we could save the Die Hard movie series starring Bruce Willis. Die Hard was originally released in 1998, Die Hard 2 was released in 1990, Die Hard with a Vengeance released in 95, and so on. So do you create a folder just for each movie? Do you create a Bruce Willis folder? Do you create both and put a copy of each movie in each folder? What happens when the director's cut of the original Die Hard is released in 2007? Where would you save this? Do you replace the original Die Hard movie so you only have one current version of the film? And what do you do when the Bruce Willis folder in that instance? Now, at this point, we're only talking about what you as an individual do. What if everyone had to now use this folder structure you had created? Will what you have decided as being the right structure mean that everyone can find what they want to watch in the same way? Hopefully by using this example, it becomes clear as to why instead we need to manage information based on what it is and what it relates to, or its context, and not focus so much on where it is stored, especially when we consider linking information from different systems and different siloed storage locations. Now, we're not saying you need to get rid of network folder drives entirely and migrate all your content into one system. Information can remain stored in these locations if needed, as it can be surfaced, connected, and managed. In other words, we want to remove the boundaries that the folders have first imposed. This makes it far more intuitive to find information and provides a true 360-degree view of all information relating to your clients. That means when they request information, you'll have it at your fingertips, no matter where it is. Some additional benefits can obviously include no first-day migrations. You can't make decisions on data that you don't know or don't know where it is to reside in one single system going forward. Obviously, there's a period of discovery of your business because your business is unique. You need to define what it is to your business. Is it a spade? Is it a shovel, etc.? Then run discovery on that connected repository to make decisions about that data going forward. Start dealing with objects rather than just documents to drive workflows and permissions, automation of process with defined governance, and the introduction of artificial intelligence to assist in all of these processes. We'd also like to quickly highlight the need to provide a unified experience for all your clients and employees. So no matter what device, user interface or repository, there is a seamless way and secure way to transform your firm with better client information management. So with these very high level foundations now in place, let's now look at 3 ways better client information management can address some of the challenges from our first slide. I'm sure we've all heard about the information explosion. Every industry is feeling it. Every 2 years or less by some statistics, the amount of information in the world doubles. And we keep on storing that data in more and more systems and repositories, resulting in a fragmented IT environment where information is scattered, disconnected, hidden, uncontrollable, and ultimately not secure. This is an even greater problem for the professional services firms because customers demand that their information is managed and secured in a certain way, and for good reason. We can all acknowledge that the client is at the core of our business, and often you're dealing with their sensitive data and IP. So this begs the question, do you know exactly where all your client information is stored, how it is being used, and who is accessing it, or who should access it? From our experience, a huge problem organisations face daily is the need to save information in a way that makes it easy to find by others and not have it trapped in information silos. We must avoid situations where one department can't see what the other is doing in the same office, let alone when employees are in different locations or countries. When it comes to information security, the basic components are most often summed up by the so-called CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. In order to prevent a breach, a regulatory fine, litigation, or just a hit on your reputation, clients must be able to trust that the information that they share with you is secure and only accessible to the right people at the right time. Data is confidential when only those who are authorized to access it can do so. Integrity means maintaining data in its current state and preventing it from being improperly modified, either by accident or maliciously. The prevalence of shadow IT, where staff use systems, devices, software applications and services without explicit IT department approval, means integrity can easily be compromised, particularly with more and more employees and clients working from anywhere. Of course, while you need to make sure that your data can't be accessed by unauthorized users, you also need to ensure that it can be accessed by those who need to access it. Often, the latter is a bigger challenge. It's crucial to get the right balance between security and compliance while maintaining visibility and control of client information. With this in mind, let's just run a quick poll to see where some of the places people on today's session store and work their work-related content. The right-hand side of your screen, you should see now the poll question. We'll set the clock on that with a minute to go and simply tick the box on all the locations where you currently store work-related content. Okay, 30 seconds. Five seconds. This must be exciting viewing. Okay, poll is closed. Do the results pop up anywhere? Nope. So, Kristen, is someone, can you tell me if the result, sorry, here they come. All right, so network drives, local desktops, and email folders or mailboxes are clearly the most used storage locations, which is interesting. Perhaps that's because we are working from anywhere, perhaps because it's the easiest place to find our content that relates to us, because the systems or other systems in use don't provide that facility. Okay. Kevin, I might get you involved in here if that's okay and ask you a couple of questions of you.
Yep, definitely.
So, what are some of the information security issues that are highlighted by having a remote workforce, do you think?
Well, I think there are two aspects related to information security that were really highlighted by the switch to remote working. So firstly, there's a social aspect, and secondly, there's a technology aspect. So from a social aspect, this is something as simple as getting assistance with something you're working on from a colleague. If you're in the office, it'd be easy to tap a colleague on the shoulder and get them to have a quick look at something on the screen. But with remote working, it isn't possible. So instead, people are sending information and working documents to each other by email, Teams, or other methods with little to no thought on information security. For example, every time you send a document by email or Teams, it's journaled in your mailbox or chat history until it's manually deleted. But no one ever does that. So it's a complete information security nightmare, Chris. And the other aspect is technology related. And there are a whole myriad of reasons why people choose to copy files from their work server to their local workstation that came to light with remote working. And that was kind of evidence in the poll there. You know, so there was quite a lot of respondents there who said that they were copying files back to their local desktop. It's quite a lot of, it was quite, you know, even sometimes I would do that too. But there's so many reasons why people do that. So one of them is unreliable internet connections, VPNs aren't working properly, they don't like using Citrix, sorry to all the Citrix admins out there, or virtual desktop apps, and also the cohort of staff who choose to work with their own devices. So the key point here again, Chris, is once these working documents are copied outside those controlled document stores, it poses a huge security risk for organizations.
So you mentioned that we've got all these collaboration tools. What impact do these tools have on our information security?
Yeah, so one of the side effects of deploying collaboration tools such as Microsoft Teams is that these tools come bundled with built-in file sharing capabilities. Whilst it makes it easy for people to share files amongst each other, the major problem is it creates another data silo for information to live in. And in many cases, these documents are not treated with the same level of governance that organizations have implemented for documents that exist in their traditional document storage locations. And that again poses a huge risk for information security. So one scenario I'd like to give you is when using Teams, anyone can be added to the Teams channel at any time, which makes sense. However, did you know that once you grant someone access to that Teams channel, they now have access to all the files shared within that channel? So here's a scenario I'd like to put out there for you. What would happen if sensitive client information was shared in the Teams channel, which was fine to share initially because the Teams channel membership was only a small group of people closely aligned with the project? However, as the Teams channel membership grew, someone gained access to the sensitive client data by accident, and the client's details were exposed publicly. Well, what would that impact, or how would that impact your firm's reputation? And if you could live the same scenario again, what would you do differently to ensure you are handling sensitive client information appropriately? Let's not also forget the increased chance of duplicates of the same working documents being copied in different locations as a workaround, so people who don't have access to the files on Teams can view these documents, which of course further reduces productivity and increases the risk of a data breach. There are many more examples, but even with these two examples I've just given you, it's clear to see the huge impact collaboration tools are having on information security.
So what's the business impact on firms with all these information silos and duplicates of information everywhere?
Yep. The biggest impact with information silos is not being able to manage all of this information from one central location, particularly with increasing demands from regulatory bodies to ensure your organization is handling know your customer or KYC and other sensitive information in systematic ways. So imagine how much simpler it would be if you could surface all the information from all your information silos from a single pane of glass, almost like a virtual client file. From a quality and risk perspective, that would be completely game changing. And the other thing as well is duplication of information in different information silos impacts the ability for firms to apply the right information management governance to reduce the risk of an accidental data leak. But like I mentioned, it's not just the risk of a data breach, but it's also the impact to productivity, particularly with duplicates. Having multiple versions of what looks like to be the same document makes it impossible for staff to know which version to trust or where to find the right version of the document. And those versioning problems stifle productivity and have a negative impact on compliance for all organizations.
Okay, so what can organisations do to allow staff to work productively using the tools they have while still having good information and governance so they can reduce their information security risks?
So one way is to train staff on the importance of information security and proper information management. But as the saying goes, we're only human. And it's in human nature to use the path of least resistance, which is why, according to a study by IBM, 24% of data breaches are actually caused by human error. But an even better way to reducing information security risks is to leverage technology and specifically intelligent information management, which can be utilized as a guidance system that can automate how staff interact with information as much as possible. For example, setting up ethical walls strictly for audits or jobs pertaining to mergers and acquisitions. With this approach, staff don't have to think about what good information management looks like. So instead, they can focus on their core tasks and work, the high value stuff that brings in billable hours. So a well-designed intelligent information management system will automate who has access to the documents and other content according to the firm's information management policy based on what it is, aka the metadata, like you mentioned before, Chris. The system should also automate retention policies, approval processes, and other business processes associated to the contents of the document based on the same metadata. And like any good information management system, security permissions, which includes automated revocation of security access, version control, task assignments, and audit trails should all be automated to bake in good information governance, so staff can focus on delivering outcomes to customers and not have to worry about information security.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Let's move on to our next point. So our second area for today's is productivity, obviously an area which is very broad. What we are focusing on here is finding a smarter way for knowledge workers to work with documents and information and the impact that has on their ability to meet needs or client needs. So we've just discussed the information security risk associated with information silos, but there is also significant product impact associated here also. When clients' documents and information is stored across multiple disconnected repositories, finding that information and being able to guarantee that you have the correct and latest copy is a significant challenge and drain on productivity. One of the core components of an efficient workplace doesn't necessarily refer to your ability to just successfully complete the task. You need to complete that task as quickly as possible so that you can move on to other matters that will drive your business forward. Document-centric processes can be manual and error-prone, which takes staff away from high-value work. And professional services organisations don't just need to find critical information, they need to do it as fast as they possibly can. By managing client information more effectively, like connecting content across repositories, we are making information easier to find and manage. Additionally, we can streamline manual processes with automated workflows, so staff will be able to focus on delivering the best service to their clients. But again, for many businesses, this is a lot easier said than done. Documents, files, and other bits of information are often very hard to find. This makes work terribly inefficient and unproductive. Knowledge workers are spending so much time looking for the information that they must stop the job that they needed the information for in the first place. If finding essential information often feels like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, that's because it is. But this is incredibly common, especially in bigger firms or companies where documents are scattered in multiple repositories and across many geographies. In a typical day, you're most likely dealing with not only your personal computer, but information sources like network folders, customer relationship management or CRM solutions, practice management systems, enterprise resource planning or ERP solutions, Microsoft Outlook, SharePoint, Teams that we've already mentioned, and likely many, many more. Additionally, you're probably working in a more traditional folder structure with very precise naming conventions for files. So if you don't know the folder or the subfolder is, or if you have absolutely no idea the name of the document is that you're looking for, it won't just be difficult to find. At that point, it's essentially be impossible. So what's really required here is this one-stop shop, or perhaps a single pane of glass view for all of your information. That single source that information flows in and out of at any given moment. A system that knows which files are in SharePoint versus which are on the network drives, versus which are in the practice management system, so that an end user, you don't have to know. The metadata, or the information about the file that you're looking for, makes the content itself easy to find. All you need to know is what you're looking for in a general sense, what it is, not where it is. At that point, you can let the system take care of the rest, instantly delivering the information you need when you need it the most. Back to you, Kevin. A few more questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
What has impacted the traditional ways of working and how has this affected productivity?
So one of my favorite questions, I think. So one of the main disruptive impacts of the pandemic was the forced shift away from working with paper. So whilst firms were slowly shifting away from paper-based processes, many employees continue to persist with the traditional way of working with paper-based client files, like I've witnessed many times in my consulting career. However, the pandemic has forced an attitude shift, and many employees have now adopted to working completely digitally with very, if no reliance on paper, which is great. You'd think that being digital would offer a great productivity outcome, but I just don't think that's the case just yet, Chris, as many newly adopted digital processes from a productivity standpoint are really just the same paper-based processes, but digitized. So instead of shuffling paper around, you're shuffling PDFs around from one mailbox to another, and that's just the tip of the spear of what digital transformation should be all about. Another disruptive impact of the pandemic was forcing staff to learn how to find client documents and information without the help of asking a colleague in the office, and be self-sufficient in doing so. This ties into the productivity aspect. So now staff have learned how to work completely digitally from a remote setting. The limitations of quickly finding client information nested in an array of folders and in different locations has surfaced as a productivity impairment or impediment. Add to this, not being able to quickly find information and have confidence you're dealing with the one true version of the document, and that's also something that can severely impact productivity as well.
So we can see on the screen here, connecting content, people and processes. What does this mean and why does it really matter?
Yeah. So for individuals to be productive, they need to access information through a lens that makes sense for them in the process. The way an associate works and accesses their information is different from the way a managing partner will work, and different again for the client services team. But they're all looking for the same information related to the client. We need to be able to connect all the information and link it back to a client, and then provide virtual lenses that allow people to work in the way they want to in a system that makes most sense to them, all whilst pointing to the same single version of the truth. And a great example of a firm connecting content, people, and processes to improve productivity is the mergers and acquisitions team at one of our customers, who use intelligent information management to underpin all of their client engagements. So what they've done is they put a workflow process in place to ensure that there's a consistent process for every engagement moving forward. There are tasks that are automatically generated and assigned, which have to be completed for each engagement. This ensures that there's consistency and proper risk control for each engagement. And a consistent, defined process means everyone is more efficient, less error prone, and it's an automated workflow everyone knows. As it's an automated workflow that everyone knows what they need to do and when.
So artificial intelligence or AI, machine learning technologies are becoming increasingly popular as firms look for better ways to manage their clients' information. Why do you think this is, and what impact, if any, could it have on staff productivity and the client experience?
Yeah, so AI and machine learning technologies are gaining popularity in firms, and it's all about giving your firm a competitive edge to reduce operating costs and increase billing hours you're delivering for your clients. So according to IBISWorld, there are over 33,281 accounting services businesses in Australia. So it's a highly competitive market. AI and machine learning technologies positively impact productivity because it can improve the speed and accuracy of how data is processed. Why manually classify and name a document when we can use AI tools that can do this for you and more accurately as well? And from an information management standpoint, the great part about machine learning is that it's constantly learning how to be even more accurate with naming and classifying documents the more you use it. So it gets smarter over time. The client experience is also positively impacted, as staff will be able to retrieve information faster for clients, since the information is more accurately and consistently classified, whilst the machine learning algorithm learns more about the types of documents you work with.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So if we move on to our third point now for today's session, it's collaboration. So specifically the way that clients and firms interact, collaborate and exchange documents and information, and the impact that has on the overall digital client experience. Digital client experience is more critical now than ever before. This is driven partly by the pandemic, meaning that firms are not able to interact with clients face-to-face, and partly by the increase of digital natives or millennials in the workplace. Your digital face is your brand. Collaboration with clients is a key demand in knowledge worker industries like professional services, where providing a best-in-class client experience and maintaining the utmost trust are imperatives and potentially differentiators. Clients and staff demand a quick, easy, and secure way to interact digitally with firms to share information. From our experience, many firms are still reliant on email as their method of externally sharing content, and while digital, it does not provide a complete digital client experience, nor in any way is it collaborative or a collaborative workplace. If anything, it perpetuates several issues already highlighted and raised during this session and is yet another information silo. What is required here is a complete digital client experience and collaborative workspace, sometimes also referred to things like data rooms or similar. A solution that enables optimal collaboration and productivity by providing internal users and external parties with a branded and customizable portal platform tailored for individual client needs. Portal-style solution provides the ability for professional services firms to share information with their clients and other external stakeholders. Firms are trying to build trust with their clients while also requesting sensitive documents and information to be provided from them. By having a secure way to exchange that information, clients can focus on the exchange and the relationship versus the technology and the security. And by leveraging the underpinning content management system and other systems in use, you can extend the single source of truth to your clients. All information, regardless of where it is stored, can be accessed and managed according to a commonly agreed process, legal regulations, or industry standards. Documents, people, processes, discussions, and more are integrated in a virtual workplace solution without data duplication, eliminating out-of-sync versions and ensuring version control. Importantly, there always remains one version of the document or information, visible to the right people at the right time, regardless of where that content is originally stored. So let's jump into another poll quickly. Once again, we'll have a minute to complete. This time we're asking you, how do you currently share information with your clients? Suspect we know some of the answers here, but it'll be interesting to see what comes up. "30 seconds. I think we got 130 odd responses last time. Let's see if we can maybe beat that one. Okay, that should now be closed. Just wait for that result to come through. Yeah, so email by the length of the Flemington Strait for those that are familiar with Melbourne, Australia. Surprisingly, still a large amount of post, some courier, 16 portals in existence, and cloud storages, OneDrives, Google Drives. So yeah, not surprisingly that email remains the main way in which information is currently being shared. All right, Kev, for the last time today, I've got a couple more questions, if I may.
Yep.
So what are the key challenges in the way firms communicate and exchange information with their clients?
Yeah, so the key challenge in the way firms communicate and exchange information with clients is to be able to do this securely, but in a collaborative way so that all parties can have a 360-degree view of communication and information as it happens, particularly when there's more than one person from each party involved. So with email, it can be hard to keep track of what's been sent and said whilst dealing with multiple stakeholders CC'd. Plus, it's unreasonable to expect a client to easily find files sent to them weeks or months later in their mailbox. Think about all the different emails that exist in someone's mailbox. Your correspondence is just one of many. Clients would prefer to have a centralized location which contains all their documents and is securely accessible by them at any time. There's also another information management challenge with email, as emails to external parties can't easily be recalled. For example, what if there was a mistake in a report that needed to be corrected? What if you sent an email with confidential financial information to the wrong person simply by typing in the wrong name? This is exactly how data leaks happen. And the other challenge is, how do you ensure clients are viewing the most up-to-date version of the document? Version control is never a sure thing with email. There's a workflow issue as well, since information requests can also sometimes be ambiguous by email as they're unstructured. And because of this, it's easy to miss specific documents or information that's pertinent to getting the job done, which can lead to not being able to meet internal and external SLAs with clients. And another challenge, particularly when dealing with multiple teams who are working with the same client, is collating all the information different teams are working on to gather a holistic view of the client's information, which means critical contextual information could be missed. These blind spots can also reduce the firm's ability to proactively provide service or advice based on the context. There was a survey conducted by Cantex that found 73% of small business owners changed their accounting firm because the firm didn't provide proactive service, only reactive service.
So then why is the digital client experience so important?
Yeah, so the digital client experience is very important today because of shifting customer demands. So there are two vectors for competition between organizations. First, there's the work you do for your customers, which essentially is the product. And secondly, there's the experience, which is considered what we call the digital client experience. So the digital client experience is the new battleground for competition. And essentially, your digital client experience has now turned into your shopfront to represent the face of your brand to clients. And having a great digital client experience is the gateway to delivering increased customer satisfaction. This so-called consumerization of technology also means clients now expect firms to have a slick and modern client engagement portal that provides a single point of call for all interaction and collaboration with the firm. And to back this up, according to research conducted by Xero, firms that are all in with the cloud could see higher growth compared to firms that are not all in.
So do we just start copying and linking stuff, or are there some key factors to consider before implementing a portal?
Yep, it'd be great if you could just copy and link stuff, but it's not that simple. So the first factor to consider before implementing a client portal is to ensure you are practicing good information management practices within the firm to allow you to serve up content to clients efficiently. This will serve you well, particularly as the client portal will be a reflection to your clients on how you manage their data, even simple things like the way the file's named. Another key factor to consider is to ensure the client portal is integrated as tightly as possible to your back-end systems, such as your practice management system and document management system. For example, the sharing of information and creation of the client's workspace within the portal should be automated and driven by internal processes and workflows within your back-end system. So you shouldn't have to manually create them every time a new client starts or something like that. I would also encourage you to think of a client portal as more than just a file sharing portal, but a digital client experience and a collaborative workspace. As mentioned before, Chris, this should be considered your shopfront to the client. So the portal should be able to provide personalized information to your clients to track projects and milestones, log service requests, exchange information using e-forms, co-author documents collaboratively, electronically signed documents, which might reduce the number of things that are sent out by post or courier, surface personalized information from other systems, for example, how many billing hours they've consumed or how many they've got left, and even potentially to advertise other services you can offer your clients for cross-selling opportunities. And one more thing, change management and executive buy-in is another factor. So internal user adoption is key, and getting senior partners and the exec team on board with using the technology you implement is crucial to the success of implementing a client portal.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kevin.
Good.
So thinking of smarter ways to work when it comes to managing information security, productivity, and collaboration means your firm can deliver a best-in-class digital client experience in today's work from anywhere world. In digitizing your business, what we're really talking about is connecting separate repositories of information and content, identifying the information and content most likely assisted by artificial intelligence, and combining the structured ERP, CRM, PMS system information and unstructured data resources like emails, folders, cloud storage with metadata to create this 360-degree view. Once connected, we can then implement and manage workflows and permissions with that same metadata to ensure people access what they're supposed to access in the most productive and compliant manner. And in finishing, just wanted to highlight that while our reference point for today's discussion has been mainly professional services firms, the application of an intelligent information management solution is not restricted to this industry. With 5,000 plus customers globally, and is evidenced by some of the industries and logos on the screen, an intelligent information management system and approach is a bedrock foundational layer to almost any organization, regardless of the vertical or horizontal application. And with that, I will thank you once again for your time and interest in attending today's session. I'll hand back to Kristen, and maybe there's some questions that have come in that we could address in the remaining 8 or 9 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Thank you. We did have one question come through from our audience, and please, if you have them, please put that into the Q&A function, and I'll put that to Chris and Kevin. But the first one that has come through is one of my friends has encountered a scam where the scammer pretends to be the client. My friend could not tell if that is true or not because the scammer writes like his client. So they've obviously been looking at it. And what are some good ways to protect data in email communications in a situation like this?
Well, it's obviously a very difficult because through a fully functioning legitimate system, sending email is one of the things that you can do. I would suggest that in the first instance, maybe sharing by email is not the best solution. So potentially the portal-based solution is better, whereas they have their own login and secure password and access to the content secured within that environment. Another way is to potentially provide secure links within emails rather than sending attachments, but that once again, some of these things are very difficult to determine as to whether they're real or not. At a personal level, the thing that I always think is if someone's asking me to do something by email, my default position is that generally it's not going to be genuine. With so many portals, apps, websites and things, generally you're being asked to make system changes, provide additional information through these mechanisms rather than purely by email. Kevin, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think if you had a portal and you were able to create this workspace for the client as part of your client onboarding process, that way, and you establish that as the default means of communication, that will probably get rid of email completely. I guess the biggest problem with email is it's just so prone to phishing scams and just, I guess, impersonation. So, especially where people use social engineering to gain access to things. So, I mean, think about how easy it is to do like those types of social engineering scams by just impersonating someone and getting a password reset or something like that. The same thing was happening in this circumstance where someone's claiming to be the client and asking for information. And then what happens if you reply back with the sensitive client information? That's a huge kind of breach of security, but then also reduces a lot of trust that people might have with that certain organization. So I think the message here really is to move away from email as a means of communication as soon as you can.
Thank you, Kevin there. So one of the questions that I had is M-Files interoperable with common practice management software?
Yes, so evidenced by our approach of what it is, not where it is. Our system, or M-Files, is interoperable with almost any data source, and there are a number of ways in which these integrations can take place, whether it be an existing integration, whether it be using our technologies and APIs, programming interfaces, or the end products versions of those, or simply just data exchange and synchronization at a database level. There are multiple ways in which we integrate with all of these systems. So the answer to that is yes.
Great. So who would own the documents stored in M-Files?
So M-Files can provide an on-premise solution in your own environment, on your own servers, inside your own data centers, your own cloud environments, and it can also be hosted by M-Files as software as a service. In any of those scenarios, the data absolutely is 100% belonging to the customer. M-Files have, if it's a cloud environment that we're hosting, we have certain access and rights to permissions to the infrastructure, but the data, should it need to be removed or moved or changed, is completely in the control of the end customer. M-Files has no ownership rights over that data itself.
No problem.
It'd be no different. It'd be no different to using cloud service like SharePoint or Office 365. We're just providing you with a service to be able to manage the data more efficiently.
Okay, I think that makes it pretty clear. Thank
Yep.
you, guys. And can M-Files data mine those documents and sell the data or exploit the data in any way?
No, not in any way, shape or form, no.
Excellent. All right, well, that was all the questions that I had. We've had nothing come through from our audience. So everyone, if you have a question that you would like answered, please pop that into the Q&A function now. Gentlemen, is there anything else that you wanted to add at this particular point while our audience is thinking about their questions?
No, I once again like to thank everyone for attending today and the opportunity to present. It's at times quite an in-depth topic to grapple with in such a short period of time, and especially without going into too much technical detail. So even if there aren't any further questions today, if any come through at a later stage, we'd be more than happy to address those.
No problem. We did have a question that just come through that I think has also been just answered in the chat function. So to that person who asked for your email addresses, I think we've said just pop your details into the chat function there to the panelists.
Sure.
Yep, and we can do it that way. So thank you very much for that. All right, well, look, oh, wait, one's just come through. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Will this be suitable for industries where each customers may only access a document once, but consists on many different customers? Sorry, let me. Will this be suitable for industries where each customers may only access a document once, but by the looks of things, maybe
Yep. Yeah, I understand
relevant
the context of the question. So
to
I
many
think
different
the context of that
systems.
question there is so if you had one document and it had to be shared to multiple people, would I have to, how do you manage that? Would you have to copy it to multiple different client folders so that you have, you know, just say 80 customers, 80 versions of duplicates of the same document? So the answer to that question is no. You don't actually, it is, you don't have to do that. So I guess MFiles is suitable for industries where you've got some, you have a document that needs to be accessed by multiple people because you just have one copy of that document, but you'd be able to, with the metadata, you'd be able to share that amongst multiple people.
Yeah, so potentially you would have your clients all fall under a certain role or security group, which would enable them access to that content. Obviously, you want to be sure that that content is generic and not specific to anyone, an individual or a company that's accessing it. But yes, there are ways and means in which you can provide such a thing. And potentially it's a similar as an internal use case. So something like the latest health and safety or compliance training or those sorts of things. You know, that's the same document that's to be consumed by all staff. So all staff can have access to that content. It's a similar process.
Yep.
Great. Okay, thank you both for that. We've had no further questions come in, so I'd like
There's
to.
another one just popped in
oh,
just then.
one just popped in. Did they come up on my screen?
Getting on a roll here.
Just yet. Thank you. If you can see that, it hasn't.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the question is, would this software be suitable for not-for-profit clients, for example, NDIS clients?
Well, we have a number of not-for-profit customers, and we have a number of installations within the NDIS. So yes, absolutely, especially given our understanding of those environments and the need to operate absolutely at the highest efficiency to make the most of the resources and funds that are available.
Yeah, I think there are a few NDIS solutions out there created by some of our partners who even have integrated it to the point where MFiles is actually able to automatically calculate the amount of billing hours or client hours that are left as part of the client funding package, and then automatically notify when you're overfunded or underfunded, and even make the claims automatically through the Australian government NDIS or I think it's NDIA website.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry about that. I can't see any other questions that have come through. Did you have any come through to you directly?
I
Kevin or Chris?
can't see any more at this stage.
No.
I think that's it.
No, but every time we've said that, one more has
yeah,
popped up.
yeah, someone comes in at the last minute, so I appreciate that. Well, look,
it's like an auction, going.
Very, very true. All right. Well, look, nothing else has come through from my end. So, look, I just want to thank you both for today and everyone who attended in our audience. Thank you for making the time to attend this sponsored webinar. I'll now hand back to Lauren to go through the final the final administration of the event. So thank you both again.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen and the team from MFiles, and thank you to everyone for your participation. In the next 3 working days, you'll receive an evaluation survey accompanied by the recording of this webinar. We really appreciate your feedback, and it is extremely valuable to CPA Australia to help us deliver better events for you. Thanks again, and we look forward to welcoming you to another CPA Australia webinar soon.
Hey.